So, welcome to the session. I think this is our fourth session of this book when we are studying this book, Man and His Bodies by Annie Besant. So, we had completed the first chapter, which was on the gross physical body. And a quick summary of that. So, we had talked about the gross physical body, and the physical body is there are seven planes of consciousness. So, when matter has been spiritualized, then different, shall we say, grossness or fineness of particles have collected in, broadly speaking, seven planes, and we are talking about the lowest plane. And now in that lowest plane also we think of seven subplanes, and the gross physical body is the lowest three subplanes. So the grossest of the entire manifested universe. Yeah, that is where our bodies are made up of. And what we learned is that this is an instrument for the soul. The purpose of the soul incarnating is to progress spiritually. The body can help it to some extent. Just the body is not enough. Taking care of the body or purifying the body is not enough to attain moksha. But it can definitely, if we take care of it, it can help our spiritual progress. If we do not take care of it, it can impede or slow down our spiritual progress. So we need to take care of it. And the target given to us is try to make the body, by making its particles, as pure as possible. And different things were discussed, mainly diet. And we also saw that it is our desires, what Annie Besant called karma, that is the root of the problem. So karma or desires take us to unhealthy practices, unhealthy food, etc., etc. But we also learned that it is possible. The body may have formed some habits, but it is possible to change them, to alter them, because the body, this physical body, is a creature of habits. So one may have, not so healthy habits, but it is possible to alter them with a little bit of will and a little bit of persistence. That is possible. And apart from what Madam Annie Besant had said, I had given at least two bits of advice. Number one, I had reminded you of Master Choa's saying that what comes out of the mind and the mouth is more important than what goes in. So, yes, pay attention to food and so on, but more we have will. We can, what comes out of the mind and the mouth, we have control over that. And that is more important. Second thing, I had advised that please read the chapter Preventive Healing in Master Choa's Advanced Pranic Healing book. So there he is given a lot of guidance on keeping the physical body healthy. Actually, a lot of that is useful when we come to the next chapter. So shall we go on to the next chapter? We are on page 33. The chapter is the etheric double. Now, you remember, we are not going word by word or line by line in this book study. We are doing sort of like a summarized discussion, and some parts we are reading. So I think the first page we will not do. There is something stated here that's it was in the 19th century. It was believed that light, and in fact all electromagnetic waves, for propagation, they required a medium, and they had called it ether. So, the etheric double, the double made up of ether, or, etheric meaning ether or made up of ether. But later this theory was discarded because it was, let us say, it was a projection, or it was said that without this medium light cannot travel. And in fact all electromagnetic waves, like radio waves, like your FM radio, so there are waves coming to you, your cell phones, for the cell phone to communicate, microwaves, these are all examples of electromagnetic waves. So it was theorized in the 19th century that light and all electromagnetic radiations require a medium, invisible medium, called ether. But now this theory is discarded. This theory is no longer held true. So this is what Madame Besant, because that was the ruling scientific belief at that time, she has written, but that is actually not scientifically not considered valid any longer. So we still, what she said about the etheric body, there is still the etheric body. It may not be made of, the hypothesis that this ether is what allows light to travel may not be true, but the rest of it is still applicable. The rest of it is still relevant. So we will still study that. So as a introduction, the etheric double is what in pranic healing we call the energy body. And although we call it energy body, and that may suggest that it doesn't have matter, but really it has matter. You see, matter is what? Matter means it's a collection of particles, material particles. Now, material particles can be bigger or smaller. Think of a rock, think of a pebble, think of a speck of dust. So these are different sizes of matter, or matter, forming particles. Now, similarly, the seven planes of consciousness are all made up of matter. The lowest ones have the densest, grossest, the upper ones have less gross, or, more subtle. So think of particles which are more subtle than the particles forming our physical body. So with our senses, we cannot normally detect them. And if you read the text, what she's saying is that these particles interpenetrate the dense physical particles. So this body made up of dense physical particles, each part, the etheric double has, the particles of the etheric double are interpenetrating the particles of the dense physical body. And the big purpose of the etheric double is to absorb prana. Prana, life force, or chi, or ki, or whatever name you're more familiar with. Absorb that and circulate it, and in the process supply it to the organs, to the tissues, to the cells of the physical body. Because the physical body, to be alive, requires that prana. The physical body is unable to absorb the prana directly. So the etheric double serves that purpose. It interpenetrates the physical body. It it absorbs the prana, circulates the prana, and thereby it's like a supplier of prana to the organs, the tissues, the cells, and so on. I'm simplifying, so it may be an oversimplification, but I'm just so that one understands. Now, for that, to get a better understanding, I would suggest, the book you got in the basic pranic healing course. For example, in India, it's called The Ancient Science and Art of Pranic Healing. In some other countries, I think it's called The Miracles Through Pranic Healing. There is, read that. Master has explained all this in a lot of detail. He has also talked about the law of correspondence. And if you want a really thorough understanding, I refer you to the book, The Etheric Double by Arthur Powell. There you will see like a very, very detailed study of the etheric double of this body. And another point that is made here is that these theosophists, these leading theosophists, were usually very evolved clairvoyants, or they were very highly developed clairvoyants. So they claim to see the etheric double quite easily and quite clearly. And if you remember when you did the basic pranic healing class, you remember the exercise where you saw the aura around your fingers, you saw the aura of another classmate, you went out and saw the air prana and so on. So with a little effort, we are also able to see the etheric double, or at least portions of the etheric double. Yeah. Okay, let's read a little bit from page 34. I'm sorry, forgot to do the exercise of mapping the pages to the ebook. So come to the chapter, the etheric double, and maybe on the second page, there is a paragraph that begins as The etheric double is composed of these four ethers, which interpenetrate the solid, liquid, and gaseous constituents of the dense body, surrounding every particle with an etheric envelope, and thus presenting a perfect duplicate of the denser form. Denser form is the gross physical body. So, what essentially the point being made here is the principle of what in Pranic Healing Master calls the principle of correspondence. Every particle in the dense physical body has a corresponding or duplicate particle in the etheric body. That's why it's being called a double, because it completely duplicates. Every particle in this body is duplicated in the etheric double. So let's go to the next page. There is I'll just read now again. If you're using the ebook, it may not be the next page. I'll read in the middle of the paragraph. As the aspirant deliberately and consciously refines his dense body, I hope you can locate the line. As the aspirant deliberately and consciously refines his dense body, the etheric double follows suit without his consciousness and without any additional effort. So, this is a nice, useful thing. What we'll do to refine the gross physical body simultaneously, without any additional effort, also refines the etheric double. Right? And one can understand because they are kind of exact counterparts or duplicates or doubles of each other. So they have a very close correspondence. As we work on the gross physical body, the etheric double improves. Of course, what we learned in the pranic healing class is improve the etheric double so as to improve the gross physical body. So master has given us many more techniques for refining the etheric double, like pranayam, pranic breathing, exercises, salt water, he's talked about taking salt water bath, general sweeping, etc., etc. And that entire chapter of preventive healing in the advanced pranic healing book, full of tips and guidance on how to improve the etheric double. And as you will improve the etheric double, the gross physical body will improve. Now, there's a long footnote on page 35 of the book. I'll just, I won't read line by line. I'll just give you a short summary. The, I mean, he's talking about the confusion in some terms. I don't think that's really very relevant to us. There is one point he's making which is relevant to us. The etheric body is designed by the lords of karma. The astral body accompanies the soul when it reincarnates. So when you take birth, or when I take birth, or you take birth, or when we take birth, our etheric body has to be designed. Now it is that decision, that design doesn't come with the soul. That is done by the lords of karma, because have you heard of the term prarabdha karma? The karma that is due to manifest in this lifetime. So, based on that, the lords of karma decide, okay, this person should have this ability or this disability. So, therefore, they make the etheric body, and the etheric body is the mold for the physical bodies. So, the physical body has the corresponding abilities and disabilities when the birth happens. Correct? But the astral body accompanies the ego. Now, there's a term here called ego. Ego means the soul. And just bringing up to you, because later it may be used, there is another term called the monad. Monad refers to the divine spark or the Paramatma, what Master Choa calls the Paramatma. So, shall we move forward? Let's go to the next page. I mean, again, my page references are based on the physical book. Now, in this next section, Madam Besant is talking about how the etheric double interacts with prana. So in Sanskrit, actually, there is a term which, if you understand, it makes this part very clear. This etheric double in Sanskrit is called the Pranamaya Kosha. The kosh or the sheath or the vessel that holds the prana. So we talked about it. The purpose of the etheric double, main or one of the big purposes, is to absorb the prana, enable it to flow throughout the physical body. So by doing that, it is enabling the soul to control and use the physical body. And this is seen particularly in the operation of the five senses. Your eye, it's not the physical organ, the eye, which has sight. What the impressions that fall on the mechanism of the eye are communicated and go into the astral plane. And there's a you have to read this. She's explained, tried to explain that. That is what enables the soul to operate the senses, or rather control the entire physical body. And really, the incarnated soul, when it incarnates, it forms the etheric body, and it can now absorb, store, utilize, circulate prana. That's what is the summary of the next section. Okay, on the next page, one point being made is that drinking alcohol affects the etheric double substantially and not positively, negatively. Therefore, we must, what she's trying to tell us here is we must avoid it. Master Choa has given more practical advice. He said, at least you must limit it. You can have the occasional beer or wine, but eventually you must give it up. Now, in the next part, she's talking about sleep and dreams. Let's read this. There's a subheading: phenomena connected with the physical body. When a person goes to sleep, the ego slips out of the physical body and leaves it to slumber, and so to recuperate itself for the next day's work. The dense body and its etheric double are thus left to their own devices and to the play of the influences which they attract to themselves by their constitution and habit. So, the phenomena of sleep is being explained, that the soul usually the soul is fully, what should we say? You are fully conscious. You, the soul, are fully conscious of your body while the body is awake, or while, yeah, what is we call the waking time. But when we go off to sleep, the soul sort of leaves the physical body or in the etheric body for some time, and these two bodies are sort of left to themselves. Not completely, that happens at death, but substantially, it sort of leaves. Now, this is how our sleep happens, and this is how the dreams happen. And later she talks about how your random thoughts, collection of random thoughts, they come into the brain, and that is what is your experience of the dreams. So Master Choa has given us very good advice. Do a little purification before sleeping. Yeah. What can you do? For example, just wash your feet. You can chant Om Namah Shivaya Om or some nice mantra. Maybe you can even do a short, quick healing to yourself. You can do inner reflection, firm resolution. You can, cut cords before you sleep. And then do an invocation. And when you invoke, you request that, while the physical body is asleep, may my higher bodies be used to gather instruction, to learn things, to attend spiritual classes, etc., etc. Try it and see. Yeah. All right, let's move on. There are some words, I thought I can just help you with them. There is this word phantasmagoria. I don't know if I'm speaking it correctly, but what it means is a collection or a sea of images. Then there is kaleidoscopic. Kaleidoscopic means complex mix. Okay, on just after that, I'll just read a little bit. The dense and etheric brains are readily recognized as instruments of thought. Have you located that? The dense and etheric brains are readily recognized as instruments of thought, not as creators thereof. For we see how very erratic are their creations when they are left to themselves. She's talking about what happens when you dream. So, random thoughts, disconnected and haphazard thoughts. In sleep, the thinking ego slips out of these two bodies, or rather, this one body with its visible and invisible parts. Visible part is the dense physical body, invisible part is the etheric double, leaving them together. In death, it slips out for the last time, but with this difference that it draws out the etheric double with it, separating it from its dense counterpart, and thus rendering impossible any further play of the life breath meaning prana, in the latter as an organic whole. So, this concept of death is explained. And then she talks more about it. Couple of points to make here is, so the etheric double is removed, separated from the physical body. Sometimes the doctor declares a person dead, but the person comes back to life later. I'm sure you've heard of cases like that. It's a this phenomena is not imaginary. It is very real, and the medical profession has labeled it the Lazarus phenomena. Lazarus, Lazarus phenomena. Apparently, some character in the Bible named Lazarus, who Jesus brings to life. You know, so something like that, and that happens. The explanation for that is, how has it happened that a supposedly dead person has come back to life? Because the etheric double was not yet separated from the physical body. The soul had not really departed from the body. So, therefore, it had the ability to come back to life. And another point here is, later she talks about this, what is called a shroud. That, in symmetries, apparently many people report that they hovering over the, where the coffin was buried, is a sort of a pale, dull gray sort of figure, which people call the shroud, and it slowly disintegrates. This they are able to see just after the person has been buried. So in India, that is why cremation happens. The physical body is burnt, so that there is this shroud is also dispersed immediately. Now, page 40 to 42, not much to discuss. Uh, she's talking about this phenomena of mediums. So let's just summarize. Basically, what she's saying is not a good idea. I mean, being a medium is not a very healthy practice. So she's generally discouraging it. It has a bad effect on health, especially the nervous system. Let me read one line or a part of a line. What is certain is that this partial extrusion means extraction of the etheric double results in much nervous trouble, and that it should not be practiced by any sensible person if he finds that is he is unfortunate enough to be liable to it. So some people have this inherent, or like, what should I say, by birth, ability to become mediums. So she's saying, well, it doesn't have a good effect on your health. And luckily, it is not a very popular ability. So only some people have it. And and it is not suggested that one should try to develop this ability. Yeah, because it can be a siddhi. You understand, a siddhi, a developed ability, but it is not suggested that one should try to develop. You see, one you have to remember that the purpose of our existence, of our taking life is spiritual progress. And the physical body is the temple of the soul, like Master says a few times, is the temple of the soul. So one has to take care of the physical body. One should be discouraged, or one should not think of activities which do not serve a spiritual purpose. One should just try to refine or improve or strengthen the physical body so that it can serve better for the purpose of the soul progress. The activities of the ego are hindered. I'm just reading another part. This is the on the physical book. It's end of page 42. The activities of the ego are hindered if his instrument is strained or twisted by ill health. We should then deliberately set about building a healthy, delicately organized, refined, sensitive body that automatically repels all evil influences while remaining receptive to all that is good. We must choose among all the things that surround us those that conduce or are conducive to that end. What is that end? Spiritual progress or attaining moksha. Knowing that the task can be accomplished only gradually, but working on patiently and steadily with that object in view. Yeah. So, again, in the physical book, the last line, so we may train our bodies to be receptive to the finer vibrations of life that are missed by ordinary men. So before that, she's talked about that as you refine your physical and the entire physical body, including the gross and the etheric, our perception improves. Our sensory abilities improve. Sixth sense and things like that can start happening also. In our school of pranic healing, there's a good deal of importance given to clairvoyance. So, and but master says that clairvoyance should be developed only after sufficient purification. So he talks about lower clairvoyance, and then he himself teaches higher clairvoyance. So that is what we need to do. All right, I'll read one more portion. They will be more efficient instruments. The physical book, page 44, somewhere in the middle. They will be more efficient instruments to help the progress of humanity and so more fit to forward human evolution, which is the work of our great masters and in which it may be our privilege to cooperate. So, apart from our progressing spiritually, we are also required to contribute to the evolution of the entire world or the entire human race, at least. Yeah. So that is why it is important to pay attention to the physical body, to the in the great invocation we say the purpose which the holy masters know and serve. So we are supposed to bless that. We are supposed to participate, help in that, and that is where it helps to keep the physical body, both parts, both aspects, pure and strong and sensitive and so on. Yeah. And before we end, I'll just remind you Lord's Prayer, Master talks about the physical body being the temple of the soul. So this is, you don't want your temple to get dirty, right? So you want the temple to be pure and strong and, helpful in the path of the soul. So I think that's a good place to stop. We have so happy. Yes.